Tonight, chaos on the campaign trail. Pauline Hanson confronts the Premier as her party surges in the polls. Hello, I'm Bethanie Alderson. This is ABC News South Australia. Also tonight, the PM calls a national cabinet meeting to tackle the fuel crisis. Another rate rise doubles the pain on household budgets. A lucky kayaker found after a night in waters off Adelaide. And the Adelaide 36ers shoot to grand final victory. It's been a tense day on the state election campaign, with One Nation leader Pauline Hanson at the centre of clashes with political opponents. It comes as a new poll predicts her party will draw a higher primary vote than the Liberals just 3 days out from polling day.
A recipe to shore up votes in Ashton Hearn's own Barossa Valley electorate.
You're doing a great job, by the way, if you need another job.
No, I don't think so.
No,
well, Premier of South Australia.
A far-off ambition for a party that's plummeted in popularity, with its biggest threat coming from One Nation. New polling shows Labor is still on track for a landslide victory on Saturday and predicts Pauline Hanson's party will finish with a higher primary vote than the Liberals.
People are turning to us because we have the policies, because we're patriotic Australians, we're fighting for people out there.
The invigorated leader making her presence known on the campaign trail, clashing with the Premier over the comments he made about immigration.
Pauline asked him about his disparaging comments where he was punching down on carers and on migrants through his inappropriate comments. He became quite defensive.
Pauline Hanson runs around, identifies a few problems and then gets back on her private jet, apparently owned by Gina Reinhardt, and goes back to Queensland or wherever she came from.
Crossbencher Connie Benares turning the tables, launching her own offensive.
How do you sleep at night knowing you do that? You sow division and fear and hate.
In the last week of the election campaign, political attacks on One Nation have ramped up, as polling shows the minor party is increasingly likely to influence the election result. But it wasn't just One Nation under fire today, with the Liberals also copping criticism for campaign blunders, including this flyer circulated in the mid-north electorate of Nadgerry, taking aim at Labor candidate Tony Piccolo over his support for Palestine. But instead of the Palestinian flag, it features the flag of Sudan.
There's a lot of campaign material that goes out and sometimes mistakes do happen.
All parties now hoping for a smooth run into polling day.
I tell you that politicians should never eat on camera.
Really?
Catherine Birmingham, ABC News.
A climate change emergency. That's what the Malinowskis Labor government declared shortly after it took power last election. 4 years on, Sophie Holder looks at where parties stand on the issue and has spoken to those who say it's front of mind when they hit the polls this weekend.
Climate change and the environment have long been hot topics, from the water cooler to Parliament. But some voters have told the ABC they don't feel there's been enough attention this campaign. Margaret told ABC's Your Say it's her focus. Environmental protection and sustainability must be at the forefront of political decisions going forward. That's what Aidan says. Edison says climate change is being pushed to the sidelines again and again, while Chris is disappointed with the lack of interest in environmental issues by all parties and candidates.
And yet it's not at all apparent that they behave as though we're in the midst of a climate emergency.
I think there's been other focuses on this election, which is disappointing from my point of view.
So we put it to the politicians.
We have an environment policy. It has new money attached to it. It's on top of all the work that we're doing in response to the algal bloom, the work that we're doing around decarbonisation, the fact that we're on the precipice of achieving 100% net renewables in South Australia.
To make sure that we've got our reefs that are restored, that's where our focus is. But we've also got a really significant project when it comes to managing sand along our coastline.
Monday's Four Corners program has also thrust the environment back into the spotlight. And while it put the government on the back foot, the Liberal Party is now defending itself over a gaffe.
You've legislated that we've got to hit net zero by 2027.
That's net renewables, Ashton. No, Ashton.
I'm happy to explain to you the distinction between net renewables and net zero. Do you not know?
Ashton Hearn quickly arguing their policies are based on affordability, not ideology.
We're focused on doing everything that we possibly can to drive down prices in South Australia.
Voters will decide if that's enough on Saturday. Sophie Holder, ABC News.
With One Nation outpolling the Liberal opposition, the state election is poised to be the first real test of the party's resurgence. The ABC spoke to One Nation supporters who say cost of living, housing and the way major events such as the Voice referendum to the COVID pandemic were handled are fueling their support for the populist right-wing party.
Small business owners are feeling the heat, like many South Australians ahead of this month's state election.
Energy bills keep growing.
Some of them have been pledging support to One Nation in protest.
It's not just people are disappointed in the Liberal Party, people are also angry at what the Labor Party's done.
Adelaide pizzeria owner Rocco DeAngelis is running for One Nation in the seat of Colton. He says he hasn't always been a One Nation supporter, but says his decision was partly influenced by the response to the Voice referendum and last year's Bondi massacre. The housing crisis is also a motivation.
800,000, a million.
Impossible.
Helping Rocco DeAngelis out with his campaign is university student and One Nation volunteer Angus Organ. He says his frustrations with the major parties date back to the COVID-19 pandemic, when his parents and brother all lost their jobs.
They handled the Australian public very harshly, and we haven't received many apologies from those politicians at all.
Political analysts say One Nation's strength is its perceived authenticity, and while it's unlikely to detract from Labor support, it could split the Liberal vote.
I think we're going to see One Nation very close to the same primary vote as the Liberal Party.
According to political analyst Josh Sunman, the high cost of living and housing crisis are issues that have brought new life into Pauline Hanson's 30-year anti-immigration stance.
I believe we are in danger of being swamped by Asians.
What One Nation is doing is offering very simplistic solutions to those problems, scapegoating migrants.
The party hasn't shied away from highly controversial views. South Australian leader Corey Bernardi backed Pauline Hanson's recent comments that there are no good Muslims and stood by his own past statements linking gay marriage to bestiality.
What's happening in South Australia isn't unique. Analysts point to global trends where frustration with mainstream politics is fueling populist movements, from the rise of Donald Trump in the US to Giorgia Meloni in Italy. With the South Australian election just days away, it'll be the first test to see whether One Nation's rise in popularity will have an impact at the ballot box. Brianna Fiore, ABC News.
And we'll have comprehensive election coverage this Saturday. Tune into our special early TV news program at 5:30 p.m. before joining the ABC's election team along with Labor's Tom Koutsantonis and Liberal Senator Anne Ruston as the votes roll in. We'll be broadcasting across all ABC platforms. The Prime Minister has called a national cabinet meeting for tomorrow to resolve Australia's fuel supply shortages. A new supply chain czar will be appointed to coordinate the response as fresh Treasury modelling confirms the war in the Middle East will push inflation even higher. Here's National Affairs correspondent Jane Norman.
On a wide open road in a wide brown land, diesel's considered the lifeblood of the Australian economy.
That's not the Australian way, I can tell you.
But in less than a month, prices have doubled and in some towns, supplies are running out.
The war in the Middle East is disrupting supply chains. It's pushing up fuel prices.
In response, the Prime Minister is bringing together state and territory leaders to identify where the shortages are and how to get the fuel there. The operation to be coordinated by a new supply chain czar.
Of course, we're preparing for every contingency and will continue to do so.
We already have a fuel czar. His name's Chris Bowen and he needs to do his day job.
Supplies are solid, according to the government.
I don't think rationing will be part of that consideration. It's not necessary at this stage.
Demand is the problem, with panic buying and stockpiling causing some servos to run dry.
We have seen some, what I've called un-Australian activity, buying jerry cans, selling it on Facebook Marketplace. That's just nuts.
That's not an answer to this problem. We need to be doing more here, as I know others have said.
to bring on exploration and refining of fuels here in Australia.
With only 2 refineries left, Australia imports 90% of its liquid fuels.
These refineries, we had 6 when Angus Taylor was the Energy Minister, 2 by the time that he left.
Now well into its 3rd week, the war is taking a greater economic toll. In a major speech tomorrow, the Treasurer will reveal new modelling showing economic growth will fall further and inflation could rise above 5%, back to what it was in 2023. But this time around, there's little appetite for handouts, with the Treasurer favouring spending cuts and tax reform in his upcoming budget.
The economic consequences of this conflict are very serious, extremely serious, and potentially enduring.
And Australians will be paying the price. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
It's estimated almost 1.5 million households could now be at risk of falling into mortgage stress. Many Australians are rethinking their household budgets as the nation's big banks waste no time in passing on yesterday's interest rate hike, adding more pain and strain for those who are already struggling.
In Australian suburbs, mortgage pain is hitting home as news of another interest rate hike drives up loan repayments.
I was surprised because obviously everyone thought it would be coming in May.
I think it's a little bit ridiculous to put interest rate up 2 months back to back.
According to research from Roy Morgan, the latest rate rise could leave more than 1.4 million home borrowers at risk of mortgage stress once the rate increases are passed through. The Commonwealth Bank, ANZ and NAB will hike home loans on the 27th of March. For Westpac borrowers, it's the 31st.
Yes, we can help you with that today.
Calls to financial counsellors have increased.
After the interest rate rise, we saw our busiest February since before the pandemic, so since 2020.
Australians facing tough situations are being advised to get on top of their debt faster.
And that might mean calling up your creditors, calling up the bank or your telco or your energy company and explaining your situation and asking for a hardship arrangement.
The Reserve Bank's hiking interest rates to cool the economy and stop prices from rising so fast. Economists think it has more work to do.
We are forecasting another 25 basis point rate hike in May, and that will take the cash rate back to 4.35.
The pain for mortgage borrowers is expected to increase as the cost of living crisis collides with mortgage pain. But it's a different story for Australians who have paid off their home and have savings in the bank.
If interest goes up, that's good for me.
Other retirees are concerned for their children.
2 daughters have got mortgages and they're finding it a little bit tough.
Will affect our sons. So, yes, so it's a hard time for them as well with petrol rises as well.
A double whammy to the hip pocket nerve. David Taylor, ABC News.
Overseas, one of Australia's defence bases in the Middle East has been damaged by an Iranian strike near Dubai. The federal government says the impact was minor and no Australians were injured. It comes as Israel announced the killing of another 2 senior Iranian figures.
A wave of Israeli airstrikes on Tehran targeting the besieged militia, a volunteer branch of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. Its commander, Gholam Reza Soleimani, killed, along with security chief Ali Larijani, one of the most powerful figures in the regime.
Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares.
Iran's response was swift. A missile strike killing 2 people in central Israel.
The roof caved in on top of an elderly couple that were inside of their apartment.
An hour after Larijani's death, Iran hit back. A barrage of missiles struck at least 5 sites in Tel Aviv. This usually busy train station hit in the fallout.
Iran's ongoing attacks on Gulf states are impacting Australia. The federal government revealing a fire caused minor damage at the Al Minhal defence base in the United Arab Emirates after a projectile hit a nearby road.
I can confirm that no Australian personnel were injured and everyone is absolutely safe.
Australia has deployed a surveillance plane to the UAE, but isn't acting on Donald Trump's demands for countries to send ships to the Strait of Hormuz to protect oil tankers.
So we helped them, and they didn't help us, and I think that's a very bad thing for NATO.
The US president adding Australia to the list of nations he's singled out on social media. We no longer need or desire the NATO countries' assistance. We never did. Likewise, Japan, Australia or South Korea.
I thought it was a petulant post from a president under immense pressure.
I'm not aware of any specific formal request for us to send ships into the Strait of Hormuz. It's not something that we've been considering.
The late, great Winston Churchill.
As the president bickers with international allies, he's also facing criticism from within. Counter-terrorism official Joe Kent resigning from his role, telling Mr Trump, Iran pose no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby.
I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. But
one of the first signs of internal dissent.
Thank you very much.
Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
The United Nations Human Rights Office is warning that Israeli airstrikes on residential buildings and displaced civilians in Lebanon could amount to war crimes. Israel's military says it's targeting infrastructure belonging to the Iranian-backed Hezbollah. The intense fighting has killed more than 800 people in Lebanon and forced nearly 1 million from their homes.
In the early morning, a building in downtown Beirut is levelled in an Israeli strike. This attack well outside Hezbollah's stronghold suburbs in the south, sparking concerns that nowhere in this city is safe. This unfinished council building is now an emergency shelter.
We had houses and we were living happy lives. Now we've become like this.
Charities forced to step in to deal with the humanitarian crisis.
How many meals are you cooking here a day?
About 2,000 hot meals.
As Israel expands its ground operations in the south and airstrikes there and beyond, and Hezbollah continues to fire upon Israel.
We are monitoring Hezbollah and all of its commanders, from Beirut to southern Lebanon.
Israel has demanded the evacuation of a huge part of the south, all the way to the Zahrani River and much of Beirut's southern suburbs. It's left more than 900,000 Lebanese displaced inside their own country.
And this is the reminder of that ever-present threat from Israel, a strike just coming through in southern Beirut over there, just beyond the international airport.
Not far from that blast, a school has been commandeered as accommodation for almost 700 people. 71-year-old Asriha tells us 11 people are sleeping in this half of one classroom.
It is a lot of pressure and we are short on resources, especially if the war is extended and the displacement doesn't end soon.
Although finding reasons to smile in chaotic circumstances. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Beirut.
Closer to home, and Sydney shock jock Kyle Sandilands says he's considering his options after ARN Media confirmed it's terminated his $100 million contract. He and his Kiss FM co-host Jackie O have been off air for 2 weeks following an on-air argument which led to the network accusing him of serious misconduct. In a statement, Mr Sandilands says he doesn't accept what's happened and has accused ARN of what he's called burning the place down. He says his lawyer has told him the termination is invalid. A dangerous, powerful cyclone is barrelling towards far north Queensland's coast, with residents being urged to prepare for the worst. Tropical cyclone Narelle is forecast to reach Category 5 before making landfall between Lockhart River and Port Douglas early Friday. It's set to generate wind gusts of up to 250 kilometres an hour. Residents in the danger zone have spent the day battening down the hatches. A lost kayaker who spent the night in waters north of Adelaide has been rescued. The 73-year-old said he'd been paddling off Middle Beach, a trip he's made about 1,000 times before, when he got disorientated on Tuesday evening.
Back on dry land after what would have been a harrowing experience for most. But 73-year-old Gordan Radic was relatively unfazed after spending the night lost at sea.
Yeah, I'm good, I'm good.
Sit with us first.
What happened last night? I just missed entrance into the channel.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What was last night like?
Well, too many Moses.
His family raised the alarm at about 11 o'clock last night after he failed to return from a kayaking trip at Middle Beach, sparking an extensive search.
Did you panic or you were okay?
No, I didn't panic. I was all right. I've seen a rescue helicopter sometime in the night and they missed me.
Rescuers located him on a sandbank at about 8:30 this morning.
He was actually quite well, so fortunately, being so well, we were able to land on a bank and actually get him to walk across to the aircraft and climb in.
With paramedics giving him the all clear.
He's in good spirits. He's had a fairly decent ordeal, but he's done quite well.
Despite the ordeal,
my car key. Someone's got my car key.
Gordon says he has no plans to stop kayaking.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Albeit after a decent night's sleep at home. Olivia Mason, ABC News.
To finance now, and both BHP and Woodside Energy have new bosses in a changing of the guard in corporate Australia. Daniel Ziffer explains.
After 6.5 years, Mike Henry is leaving and mega miner BHP will have a new boss, Brandon Craig. Also today, oil and gas giant Woodside Energy has elevated Liz Westcott to CEO. That's less of a shock because she's been doing the job since December, when former Chief Executive Meg O'Neill fled to run BP. BHP is our second most valuable company, behind the Commonwealth Bank. But Brandon Craig will be getting a far less exciting pay packet than his outgoing boss, who earned $19 million last year. When I asked him today about the world on fire geopolitical situation of recent weeks, he described it as a pretty interesting time. So he's clearly got a flair for understatement as well as digging up copper. Shares in both companies lifted as investors cheered safe internal appointments to money-making behemoths. Stocks rose in the US as the world waits on interest rate decision from its central bank, the Fed, which is expected to keep rates in the range between 3.5% and 3.7%. Yes, ours are now higher than that. Brent oil fell but remains above $100 a barrel. Our dollar now above 71 US cents, its highest level in more than 2 years. And that's finance.
You're watching ABC News South Australia. Coming up on 7:30 with Sarah Ferguson, the surge in counterfeit cash leaving businesses out of pocket.
I just couldn't believe that this was happening.
Thank you very much.
I've seen two notes next to each other where, to the naked eye, you cannot tell the difference.
If prop cash looks like an Australian banknote, it's not a toy, it is a crime.
Some of those amounts of counterfeit currency, if they were real, would amount up to around about $2.5 million.
To sport now, and the 36ers are back in the NBL Championship Series with a warning from their vanquished semi-final opponent not to think it's Bryce Cotton or bust in the search for the title. Indeed, it was Cotton's sidekick DJ Vasiljevic who was critical in last night's 12-point series deciding win over the Phoenix after being restored to the starting lineup. Matthew Smith reports.
It was a moment 8 years in the making.
Have built a roster to win it all.
Our guys showed real toughness and grit that entire game to get back, try to contest, make things tough.
That preparedness to do the unfashionable got under the skin of southeast Melbourne, repeatedly incurring technical fouls as they lost the plot. For once, Adelaide dominated the key.
We made a little pact, and we were just like, if we out-rebound them, we're going to win this game.
We took care of the boards. We won the offensive rebounds, and we crushed them on the boards totally.
While co-captain DJ Vasiljevic took full advantage of finally making it back to the starting side.
Vasiljevic, what a night he's had.
He scores 27 on 13 shots and guards Sobey.
Nathan Sobey destroyed Adelaide in Game 2, but couldn't buy a basket for most of the night. While bench player Ian Clark hit 32 points, he didn't have enough teammates who contributed. 36ers star Bryce Cotton hit a lazy 38 points. But a warning for Adelaide's Championship Series opponent Sydney, don't be fooled into thinking the 36ers are reliant on Cotton to win another title.
They have other good players on the team, so that's what makes it even more hard to guard him, because there's a lot of other quality players around him.
Including Isaac Humphries, who had several pivotal moments as he took advantage of more court time. Game 1 of the 7-match series is in Sydney on Saturday night. Matthew Smith, ABC News.
The Matildas are back in Sydney, ready to fulfil their dream of winning the Women's Asian Cup final on Saturday night. Their 2-1 win over China in Perth last night was once again inspired by some Sam Kerr brilliance.
She is incredible, Sam Kerr.
Kerr's career has been built on making the seemingly impossible look easy. But she's taken it to a new level at the Asian Cup, scoring a magical match winner for the second straight game.
Perfection from Sam Kerr.
I know I can be one of the best players in the world, and I think I'm showing that at this tournament.
Kerr is the only player in this current golden generation to have ever won a major tournament, the 2010 Asian Cup. Most have spent half their lives playing together and are also peaking at the right time.
Well, she's arriving on the spot.
We've been fighting so long to get here, and I just feel like finally it's paid off, and yeah, we deserve to be there and we deserve to be playing for a trophy.
It didn't all go the Matildas' way.
Mary Fowler.
Ford's opener was cancelled out by China's penalty to keep it level at the break. After Kerr's brilliance, the defending champions tried everything to keep their title hopes alive, but the Matildas wouldn't crack. As Emily Van Egmond came on late for a record-breaking 170th cap. The celebrations have been tempered with the harsh reality of what's needed next.
Our objective of getting to the final is complete. We know deep down in our hearts that we need to be better.
Now it's down to the last leg of an incredible journey to see if they can finish on a high. Amanda Shalala, ABC News.
Australia's Winter Paralympians have arrived home after a 10-day campaign in Milano Cortina. Australia sent one of its biggest Winter Paralympic squads to Italy, and they returned to a warm welcome from family and friends in Sydney. Governor-General Sam Mostyn was also there to greet the team. Veteran snowboarder Ben Tudhope was Australia's most successful athlete at the Games, claiming silver in the snowboard cross and bronze in the banked slalom.
To be able to compete at the world highest stage is fun. It's really fun, and yeah, that's why I do it. And if I can inspire the next generation to come up, that's why I'm here.
Let's take a look at South Australia's weather now, and tonight's photo of a feathered flock at Waipinga Beach was sent in by Neil Cheshire. We had a few spots of rain in Adelaide today. It reached a top of 24.2 degrees around 3:45 after a low of 19 degrees. Across the state, Maree in the northeast hit 28.8 degrees with 18 in Mount Lofty. Meanwhile, Moomba had around 33 millimetres of rain. Cloud-generated wet storms today for parts of SA, the eastern states, the interior, as well as the Territory, with storms also in northeast WA. Tropical cyclone Narelle will increase wet winds about Queensland's north tomorrow as instability generates more rain and storms between the country's north and southeast, heaviest for eastern New South Wales. Around the country, a top of 36 degrees for Broome, storms and 31 in Darwin, 28 for Brisbane, 23 in Canberra and 21 degrees for Melbourne. Back home, showers about the pastorals and western coasts may extend into the northern agricultural area with a top of 27 degrees in Woodna. Further south, there'll be possible morning fog patches about the southeast of our state with a top of 23 degrees in Port Lincoln and 28 for Keith. The flood warning for our inland rivers continues with a flood watch in place for parts of the northeast pastoral district. It'll be partly cloudy over the city tomorrow with a top of 27 degrees after dropping to 16 overnight. On the waters, southeasterly winds to 15 knots, tending southeast to southwesterly in the morning morning, then southeasterly again, reaching 20 knots north of Grange, with seas around 1 metre. The sun will rise before 20 past 7 and set about 7:30. And looking at the 7-day forecast, expect a top of 26 degrees on Friday, 29 degrees for Sunday, warming up to 30 degrees for Monday and Tuesday, and again for this time next week. And that's all the news to now. Thanks very much for your company. Stay with us. 7:30 is up next.